I would like to introduce our speaker for today, who is Miss Shalini Mittal. Uh, she is certainly a compassionate professional who strives to provide the best learning experience by dynamically adapting to strategies and providing related examples to ensure participants enjoy the learning path, which also means that she makes learning really fun and interesting. So, without any delay, I would like to hand over the session to Shalini.
Thank you so much, Sushil. Okay. I hope my screen is visible to everyone.
Yes, it is.
So good evening, everyone, and welcome to this webinar on the tips, tricks, and strategies to be able to crack interviews at any of the MAANG companies or any of your favorite companies, if any, apart from MAANG as well. I would really request you all, if you have any questions, you please feel free to ping in the questions window or in the chat window, and I will address them at the end. And if in case time doesn't permit, we will definitely reply to your queries later on. We will personally mail you all. So to begin with, so basically myself, I'm Shalini Mittal, a corporate trainer with 12 plus years of experience. I have my own YouTube channel with the name as Tech Gatha. I'm a content writer. I deliver trainings on various technology stacks like MERN, MEAN, Java, Python, web services, cloud computing, microservice architecture, databases, SQL, NoSQL databases, batch processing, testing frameworks like Selenium, and as well as Citrus testing framework, which is a new framework just 3 to 4 years old in the market. You can find my videos on the channel with the name as Tech Katha as well. Anything else you want to know about me, you can ask me in the questions window, or you can definitely refer to my LinkedIn profile. Now, to begin with, the agenda for today's session will be, first of all, let's understand what all comes under FSD, the skill sets required. How do you strategize your journey to be able to successfully crack the interviews for FSD? Interview planning process. I'll also give you a few list of questions that's asked in the interviews and references for the same. And in the last, we are going to take the Q&A round. Now for the agenda, the introduction to FSD. So what do you mean exactly by a full stack developer? So what are the skills that a particular interviewer is looking when you're applying as a full stack developer? First, you need to be aware about wide range of technologies. Again, how much expertise or depth should be there? It all depends upon on what position you are applying and how many years of experience you have. You need to be able to specialize in technology. So for example, we'll see when we have full stack developer, there is a long list of technologies that you need to be aware about. But if you are working as a fresher, you can pick any one and you can then streamline yourself into that one technology instead of, so having many things in your plate, I would suggest that pick up one, focus on that so that when you go for the interview, you can say, okay, fine, you are good onto the front end, or you are good in the back end, or you are good at the database level. So you can choose your expertise and specialize with that particular technology as a fresher. And when you go as an experienced, then do remember that whatever technologies you speak, whatever projects you have worked with, will be very important parameter at the time of interview. Full stack developer comes in with front end development. So you should be aware about front end technologies to be able to create a web application or a mobile based application. Back end development, where you would be creating a server side applications. Database developer, maybe if not a database administrator, but at least you should be aware about the database queries, the CRUD operations that you perform while connecting your backend applications with the database. You definitely need to be aware about DevOps. Yes, if you have worked on it, well and good, but at least you should be aware about the technology stack that comes under DevOps and what basically functionalities it brings onto the table of the developers if they actually know DevOps. Because DevOps is developer plus operations, means a developer is going to integrate and communicate with the operation team parallelly. So it is very important that you do understand what are the tools and technologies that comes under DevOps and what you should be aware about. Lastly, it's about cloud computing. For a freshers, I would say it's totally fine if you are not aware about cloud computing or if you have the basics of cloud computing. Just you know that what all features a cloud computing environment brings in, and maybe you know just about few technology stack, but not much expected from the freshers perspective. With the experienced perspective, it all depends upon what is your experience and what all projects you have worked in, and if you have worked on any cloud computing environment, and if you have, you should be able to answer with respect to your experience that you had in working on the cloud computing environment. I have divided this whole session taking an example of farming. So we say that you cannot sow and harvest in the same season, right? You sow today, but you get results after 6 months or a year, depending upon what you are going to sow, which type of seed you're going to sow. So you need to really have patience. You need to constantly work on yourself to be able to successfully crack an interview. You need to prepare not only technically, you not only need to be technically strong, but at the same time you also have to work on other aspects which we will be discussing as we go on with the sessions. So the first step is we say that we need to understand the landscape, right? So what land you're working with, whether you're going to do the farming, what kind of weather conditions are there? I mean, there goes so many parameters. Which kind of crops will that particular land support, that weather supports, and so other things. That's our first step. That is understand the skill sets that goes when you talk about as a full stack developer. Now, the first is the front end development. Under front end development, you have HTML, CSS, JavaScript, jQuery, front end frameworks, user experience, and UI. It's always good to know the technology stack that goes depending upon what kind of role you are looking for. So, whether it's as a front end developer, a back end developer, a database developer, a full stack developer, as a tester, as a quality analyst, as a network specialist, as a cybersecurity expert. I mean, there are lots of plethora of options available for you to apply in any IT industry based on your preference, your choice, or interest. You should be well aware about the skill sets required for that particular stack or that particular role. Because this session is completely focused on the full stack development, I'm going to give you an overview on the technology stack that's expected from a full stack developer. We talk about HTML, CSS. HTML5 is the so-called technology that we would suggest that you should be aware about. There are many things in HTML5. You have semantic elements, you have various attributes added in the input tag. So HTML basically is a language using which you display the content on the web page. So then there is WebSocket programming, there are geolocation APIs, and there are many more plethora options available which you should be aware about when you say you know HTML and specifically HTML5. Next is CSS. I would really enforce on you upgrading yourselves on CSS3 because CSS3 brings box model, it brings lots of CSS properties, animations, transitions, the hover effects that you can do it without even writing a single code of JavaScript library. When we talk about HTML, CSS, it's very tedious to style the web pages using the plain CSS library or the properties and the attributes available. It's always mandatory nowadays. I would say it's mandatory because we all focus on creating responsive web applications. When we talk about responsive website, responsiveness doesn't mean just when you zoom in and zoom out, it means browser compatibility. It means device compatibility. It means browser compatibility. So there are so many operating system compatibility, server compatibility. So there's so many things that goes behind the scene when you're trying to create a responsive application. What I'm seeing on my laptop with a 13-inch, 17-inch screen, I should have the same features and UI on my mobile device or a tablet device as well, irrespective of the browser I'm using, whether it's Chrome, whether it's Firefox, whether it's Safari. I should be able to uh, uh, create an application which works on any browser or any operating system as well as any geographical location I am. Then you have also some preprocessors available, which are just CSS extensions, which provides you with lots of reusable code when you are designing a complex website with all the stylings that you need to have. Next is you have JavaScript or jQuery. Now, under JavaScript and jQuery, you need to understand the basic programming concepts. Very, very important. When you say you know JavaScript, they may ask you anything, right? So there are few, like for example, JavaScript has particular keywords like null, undefined, NaN. Then there are difference in the equality operators. You have various dialog boxes that's available. There are various objects that comes into JavaScript, so you should be well aware about that. You should be aware about string manipulations, date manipulations. You should be aware about data structure manipulations in JavaScript. So if you say you know JavaScript, you should be well versed with that particular language. You should know because advanced JavaScript, that's what's used in the advanced JavaScript frameworks. So very important that you should be aware about the ES6 concepts. So if you just search online on ES6, you will understand the advanced features that's available. That is the advanced JavaScript we say, which brings in with REST operators, spread operators, object literal, maps, arrays, and there are many other concepts available with the ES6. Yes, when it's JavaScript, you are going to make a request on the backend application. So Ajax, Promise, Observables are again few of the concepts which you should be definitely aware about. So when you say you know JavaScript, I've just pinpointed the topics that you should be well aware and well versed with because the interview questions may revolve around any of these concepts. Next comes in the front end frameworks. You have Angular, which is again mean. So when I say mean stack, M is, then we have the MERN stack, where R is for React. Then we have MEVN, where V stands for Vue.js. Next is the user experience. It's always good to know what goes in the user experience. So branding, designing, usability, and function. So basically user experience tries to answer the why, the motivations behind why you are designing such user experience, what values it brings on, and how is the view going to be for the users, what functionality and features it brings in, and how that is the accessibility and the aesthetics behind the user experience. User interface brings in with the look and feel, the responsiveness of the applications, interactivity, and the animations that you bring. So there cannot be too bold animations or too much of things revolving in and around. That kind of disturbs the users. It all depends upon what kind of a website or application it is. Does it really requires that boldness or really requires that kind of animations or transitions you are adding it? It has to be for the target users, and believe me, whenever you create user interfaces, it has to have a smooth interactivity, not too much of clips, not too much of clicks, and users should be able to understand. So when we talk about user interface, we always take care about the gesture-based interface, facial recognition if you're providing those features, AI assistant always good to have, and augmented reality if your application requires that. Then comes to that was with respect to the front end development. Next is back end development, where if you are working with Java stack, you may work with Python stack, Node, Ruby, C Sharp, PHP. So I've just pinpointed the most used technologies in the market with the trends they are in. If you are working with Java, you should be aware about Servlet JSP, Spring Boot, Hibernate. If it's Python, it should be Django, CherryPy, Flask, SQL Alchemy. If you're talking about Node, Express, Meteor, Socket.io, Mongoose. If it's Ruby, you're talking about Ruby on Rails, Cuba, Hanami. So these are just the libraries and frameworks available with respect to the respective technologies. When you say C Sharp, it's .NET Framework, ASP.NET, ADO.NET. And with PHP, you may learn Laravel Framework or Symfony or Propel. So the last ones that you see, Hibernate, SQL Alchemy, Mongoose, Active Record, ADO.NET, and Propel, they are basically the ORM frameworks. So when we talk about backend development, if you say, say Java, yes, if you say, Spring, you should be aware and you should know Hibernate. So the questions may revolve around, if you say Java, they may revolve around what is the request response, how the web applications communicate, the different types of servers that's available, what is an ORM framework, what advantages it brings on to the ORM framework. If you're talking about Spring and Spring Boot, then all the features and functionalities that Spring and Spring Boot brings in, and the same goes with every other technology. So well versed with the frameworks, well versed with the concepts, well versed with the features that each and every technology brings in onto the developer's plate. If you're talking about database developer, it's again divided into two. It's RDBMS. Under RDBMS, you may be working with MySQL, you may be working with Oracle, you may be working with Postgre, you may be working with Microsoft SQL Server, and there is a never-ending list of the RDBMS databases that's available. Then again, with no SQL databases, that is not only SQL, you may work with, say, MongoDB, you may work with Cassandra, you may work with Elasticsearch, you may work with Redis, and again, there is a long list of the RDBMS databases that's available. DevOps is vast. DevOps is not logical at all, but DevOps is more configuration based. So DevOps is again divided again into categories like version control tools. So at least out of anyone. So it's not that you should know everything. I'm just giving you an awareness about all the things that's in the market, but you can pick anyone. So version control, GitHub or Bitbucket or GitLab. Again, the container management tools, Docker, Kubernetes, Mesos. Performance monitoring tools, so Prometheus, Dynatrace, AppDynamics. Again, you would be having deployment and server monitoring tools. So you may be aware about Splunk, Datadog, Sensu. Configuration management tools like Chef, Puppet, Ansible. CI/CD tools like Bamboo, Jenkins, Travis CI, and so on. So, depending upon whether you are a fresher, again, I'll say fresher or experience, it all depends upon. For a fresher, no need to know everything. It's totally fine. So, I'll at the end we'll discuss about what a fresher, as a fresher, you should focus upon, and if you are an experienced, maybe say 2 to 5 years of experience, then what areas you should actually focus upon. Cloud computing, you can select any one of them. It can be Amazon Web Services, it can be Microsoft Azure, or it can be Google Cloud Platform. No need to know everything, but if you can just pick any one, conceptually they all are the same. The way you do it in AWS will be different the way you do it in Azure or GCP, but conceptually they all will provide the similar functionality. Now, so that was with respect to the skill sets that's expected from a full stack developer. Now, it depends upon whether you are self motivated or whether you prefer having a guided learning sessions. For self motivated, of course, you have lots of options: YouTube, Udemy, Coursera, Pluralsight, LinkedIn Learnings. If you want to join in live classes, you have KnowledgeHut, Upgrad, Great Learning, Simply Learn, and again, you can just explore the more options available if you want to have live classes. The step two is now you've identified your skill sets. You know what all goes, what all options are available. Definitely you need to prepare your soil before you can sow the seed, right? So preparing the soil implies basically strategizing your journey. Now, when you strategize your journey, the first step is get the basics straight. Please pick up any one track. Don't go on and learn MEAN, mean, Java, PHP. I get lots of inquiries, and people ask me that, Shalini, I want to learn MEAN, mean, and this and that. And I'm like, hold on, hold on, hold on. Let's go step by step. Let's take baby steps. If you're going to take everything, it's kind of a spaghetti, right? It will jumbled up. You'll be confused. So always try to choose one track. If you like JavaScript, you can choose MEAN or mean. If you like Java, you can pick up the Java track. You can pick up PHP track. You can pick up Python track. Just pick up one track. Focus on that. Get your concepts straight. So you should focus on what, why, how. Believe me, when I get client calls, they really tell me that, Shalini, syntax is okay, today there is one language, tomorrow is another language. You don't know what's coming in, what's there in the market. Developers should understand what they are doing, why they are doing, and how it is implemented. Code you can just copy paste. I mean, they literally tell me that code can be copied pasted. What is important is you should understand what goes on behind the scenes. If you are doing something, even writing a single line of code in text assistant, why you're writing that line, what is the purpose of that line, what it brings behind the scenes, and if you want to do something in that particular language, how you do it. So I always say, do not marry the language, do not marry the company. You don't know what's there tomorrow. Just get your concepts, focus on the concepts basically. And yes, logic. Building a logic is very, very important. Focus on data structures and algorithm, whether it's fresher or experience. DSA is a very important criteria for the interviewers to judge you or to be able to um, gauge your experience. So if you are a fresher, this is one of the very, very important area, DSA, data structures and algorithm. At the end, I will showcase a slide where I will tell you the important topics in data structures that you should focus upon. But yes, freshers, they can't expect you to know the frameworks or the libraries, but definitely any one language, C, C++, Java, Python, PHP, Ruby, you just select one. They don't care about the language, but they more care about the thought process behind solving the question given to you. How do you get to the solution? And if you are able to implement in the language that you say you know, they don't care about the language you choose, but they care about the process that you take for solving a question given to you. And the questions are definitely based on data structures and algorithms specifically for the FANG-MANG companies. Okay. So yes, and for the experienced ones, depending upon the level of experience you have, uh, coding is less because then it goes towards more system designing rather than the coding experience. But then you may expect maybe a tough question on DSA. So be prepared for that as well. Definitely, second step is, so you've identified your track, you're working on the concepts, you're working on building the logic. You need to enhance your skills like you've learned today. But how do you keep a track of your progress? How do you know if you're going in right direction or not? How do you know if whatever you have learned, you remember it over the period of time? Because prepare today, you don't know when you land up in the job. So you will be giving so many interviews, you will be preparing for interviews. So how do you keep enhancing your skills with every interview? That's one of the very important steps. So coding, code, and code. So a few of the options available online is Lead Code, Geeks for Geeks, Hacker Rank, Ace Academy, LinkedIn Learning. Just go onto this website and they give you with lots of questions to solve along with the solutions as well. So you will also get lots of solutions solved by other programmers. Yes, it's important not only to code, but it's also important to understand someone else's code. Very, very important. So at the time when you are practicing coding, also try practicing understanding someone else's code, identifying errors in someone else's code. That is very, very important. Projects. Please solve projects, dummy or live, paid or unpaid. We don't care. Interviewers don't care. Until the time you say you have created projects. If you want to work on live projects, you can go to Internshala. You can go on to LinkedIn Connects. You can search on LinkedIn for the people to give you projects. You can connect your references. or you can directly apply to the companies for internship as well. You choose your company, whether it's Tata, it's Infosys, it's Capgemini, it's Accenture, it's any of the MAANG or FANG companies. Just go onto their websites and apply for internship. What's the harm in applying, right? You may or may not get it, but at least take that first step. It's very, very important. Hackathons. Yes, compete. So HackerRank, HackerRat, DevFolio, Startup India, Google provides with women entrepreneurship programs, Code Chef. Go onto these websites and take part and participate in the competitions and continuously post on LinkedIn and other social media websites. You never know when you compete, when you win or not, when you post it, you are actually being noticed by the recruiters. You are being noticed, and one day they may approach you directly. So always go on for hackathons, always compete against other programmers, and always publish your scores, your competitions. And last but not the least, yes, feedback. um, Go to those mentors or professors who will be the best critics. Don't take always positive feedbacks. Focus on negative feedbacks, taking it positively to improve yourself. Go to your colleagues. Your colleagues know you better. They have been with you. If you are a fresher for the past 4 years of your college, if you are an experienced for the past years of when you were working in the company, they know how you are technically. They know how you are professionally. They even some of you even know you personally. Your managers, they know your skills, they know what's best in you, they can bring the best out of you. Your friends, your family members, for the moral support. So feedback is equivalently important. And yes, peer coding and teamwork is on the top. You should do peer coding. So just coding alone is one thing. But again, you should find people like you who are looking up for the interviews, and you should code with them. So, whenever you do peer coding, you take a problem statement, you discuss, you talk, you communicate, you come up with these solutions, you ask questions to each other, and you also try to understand the other person's thought process. Very, very important. So do peer coding and always work in teams. So teamwork is also one of the important parameters that's in the tick list of the interviewers. Step 3, done, right? You identified the skill sets, you've identified in which area you are interested in, the soil is ready. Now let's sow the seed. Means now let's get noticed. Build your resume. You can build multiple resumes depending upon the different profiles that you want to work with or for different companies. There is no harm in doing that. Your resumes should be up to date, and you can join online courses like Udemy, Coursera, Pluralsight, LinkedIn Learnings, and do publish certifications that you get in the resumes, and do make it up to date and circulate on different portals that's available. So now it's the time you have to actually sow the seed so that it becomes fruitful at some point of time in the future. Build your resumes. There are various online resources available which will provide you with an option of building the resumes as well. Plus, say for example, if you join KnowledgeHut, we will have a team which will definitely help you and guide you to build your resume with respect to the company and the profile and the role that you want to apply for. Next, you have sowed the seeds, right? You need to water it frequently, you need to water it regularly, otherwise it will not grow. That means there are daily routines, daily practices that you have to follow to be, and that's a part of your interview process. That is daily practice. Prepare, build your resumes daily. Spend 15 minutes daily to go through your resume, to make changes if any, to update your resume and prepare elevator pitches. Very, very important. So whenever you go to any interview, they will always ask, say, tell me about yourself, tell me something that's not in the resume, or can you just quickly, introduce yourself. So you should be ready with those elevator pitches of 30 seconds, 1 minute to 3 minutes, as to how you will pitch, how you will start, how you will sit, how will your body language be, whether it's online or whether it's offline. Body language does count. Camera will be on. How do you present yourself? How do you talk? There should be no pauses, no breaks. Take time to think. Don't be in a rush to answer. Interviewer is there, which is there to listen to you. So don't be in a rush. No, not needed. You can clarify the question if you haven't understood when asked by the interviewer. No harm in that, but just don't be in a rush to just answer. Okay. Always, whenever his question is asked, even if you know it, take a pause, take a deep breath, take a deep breath for 5 to 10 seconds, and then start answering. Believe me, with a smile. Smile is very, very important. Always start with a smile. That showcases that you are confident. Okay. Scout. That is the part where you connect to recruiters. You ask for referrals to your mentors, to your managers, to your professors, to your colleagues. You never know who can help you at any given point of time. So networking is very, very important. Whichever company you are trying to apply for, you can always connect to their alumni. You can always connect to the employees working with that company. Believe me, there are people who understand what what an interview is going through. So there are people who are ready to help. Some may be chargeable, some may be free, some just give it out of the interest of helping. So I call that as giveaway, right? So I just need to have a way to give away what I got from my mentor. See, saying thanks, taking a box of sweet, or these gestures, you can be thankful to your mentors. But what I believe in strongly is the only way I can thank to my mentors or my colleagues who on my way to my career journey have helped me is by helping my juniors who are now struggling to be in my position or at a higher position or any position is there. So this takes around 3 to 4 weeks for you to be able to get connected to the recruiters and getting referrals. Train yourself. Code. At least 2 questions per day. Give mock interviews. Connect with your colleagues. You can ask your colleagues to be a part of your mock. They can ask you questions. You can prepare yourself. Or else you also have a website, pram.com, which also helps you with your mock interviews. Lastly, behavioral skills. Very, very important. You are technically strong, you know everything, but if you don't have ethics, you don't showcase the values, believe me, no company is going to hire you. Character is very, very important apart with technical skills. So I cannot say technically strong, don't have any values, no. Or if you have values, you're technically strong, no. They have to be balanced. They go hand in hand. So work on the ethics, work on the values, go on to the companies, read about their values, mission, vision, read about what they basically focus upon. And whichever company you are going for, always study about that company. There are plethora of books available, plethora of YouTube options available. You have TEDx talks available where they tell you about leadership skills, they tell you about the teamwork, tell you about time management, tell you about email management, tell you about anger management, tell you about skill management. So go ahead, listen to the videos and read onto the books. This has to be your daily practice. So daily you should continuously work on yourself to be able to be confident while you are sitting in front of an interview. And believe me, when you give an interview, there's not just one person. Huh? There are 5 to 6 people sitting in front of you. I'm not scaring you because there's nothing to be scared of. Interviewers are usually, I mean, I will say the interviews that I have given till date, they have been very friendly. They always try to help you in some or the other way. They are not there to judge you. They are just there to understand whether you will be a fit for the company. Believe me, they are not there to personally, there's no personal grudges, okay? They are just there to hire you for a position that they're looking for and whether you are fit for that position or not. That's it. So work on these on daily basis. Now the next is once you sow the seeds, you need, and you have water, you're watering it daily, right? But you also need to provide manure, you need to feed it, and that too the right amount at the right time. You cannot feed daily, you cannot you so you need to understand the type of soil, the type of seed, the type of crop, and what goes on. Okay, so you have to identify the resources. So first of all, social media, very very important. Update your profiles on all of the social media portals. Go on to the fairs or conferences, whether it's online or offline. Attend those. You may fail in few, you may fail in start, and that's totally fine, because that failure is going to teach you a lesson to be well prepared for your dream company. Networking. You need to identify the resources for networking. You need to be creative. You need to be innovative while you're connecting with someone. Your approach should be right. You should ask the right questions. Shortlist the companies that you look forward to for applying. Try to find colleagues or references in that company. Reach out to various recruiters. You never know which recruiter may help you at any given point of time. Be nice to them. Be responsive. When they write you an email or a message, please take some pains and have some ethics to respond to them, whether you are interested or not. Please autopilot or automate many of your stuff. Like there are various email templates that's available. You can put in notifications, and you can even download some apps. So I have this link, which I'll just provide to you in the chat window for a reference. So there are few things which you can basically go on, and you can learn about the apps that you can download, or you can add plugins into your Gmail to automate the notifications that's coming in. See, every time going onto the website, refreshing, it's tedious, right? So to be able to smoothen your preparation for the interview, automate as much as you can. And negotiation. I'll also provide you with the links on the books and the references which you can refer to understand the tips and tricks and strategies for negotiation. If you have offers from more than one company, you should understand the parameters. So not only money, money will be one aspect of it. So money, profile, company, location, what is their values, how is the company rated, right, on the different websites like Forbes, uh, what is the work environment like, and how is the culture of the organization. So there are many parameters that goes on for you to accept the offer and to negotiate. Once you have identified the resources which will help you reach out to the recruiters and the company, the next step is wait for it to harvest. It takes time. It's not you sow today and you get the results tomorrow. It will take time. It may take time 6 months. It can even take time for a year. So the points to remember while it's harvesting is always practice, be patient, be focused on the goal. If you're focused, you're on the right track. Yes, mental resilience. Believe me, people tend to give up. You never know when you are. I don't know if you must have seen that video, right, where a person is digging for gold. So there are two people. One person is just nearer to that digging. There's a gold. Just if he could dig more, he will reach to the gold. But he gets tired. He loses patience, and he just goes away. But the other person keeps patience. He keeps his mental strength, and he tries and tries and tries, and he reaches to the goal. So again, COVID. We all know we have gone through the pandemic. Right? We are of this generation where the pandemic hit, and I'm sure many of your dreams must have shattered in this pandemic. But this pandemic has even taught you so many things. Expect the unexpected and be prepared for that. Be proactive. Stay alert. Stay responsive. You should be adaptable and flexible to whatever comes in your path, and do not divert. Keep your focus set. Very, very important. Now, if you got what you were looking for enjoy it. Take a moment, celebrate, party hard, no issues. And I believe in this. Luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity. So this is a quote by a Roman philosopher, that is Seneca. So you would see that, say for example, I just sit here, okay, and I say, I'm going to get a lottery, I'm going to get a lottery, and it's my luck. But you will get the lottery only when you purchase the ticket, right? So you have to take the efforts and the pains to go and purchase the ticket. So it's not luck. You've purchased the ticket. You've prepared for it. And when the opportunity comes, you may not win. But that doesn't slows you down. That should not demotivate you. You should be well prepared next time. Someday or the other, it is going to click. Your preparation is going to um, give you the opportunity and open the doors for you that you're looking for. But hold on, you've achieved what you wanted, but that is the first step. Okay, but you need to set your sights on the bigger harvest, not just the smaller fields. You need to grow financially, you need to grow personally, you need to grow professionally. Learning never stops. So every end, so this interview process, preparation might be the end, but it is a new beginning for you when you join an organization. Um, that's a new adventure. Change is always constant, that we say in the IT industry. So many technologies, so many opportunities, so many roles, so many profiles, so much to grow and so much to learn. So never, never, never stop learning. This was with respect to the interview process that you need to focus on while you're preparing for any of the companies, and specifically if it's one of the MAANG companies. Now I'll just focus on the few of the sample questions that's usually asked in the interview. So if it's technical, under data structures, linked list, arrays, stack, graph, trees, binary trees, strings like palindrome, reversal list, remove the duplicates, like for example, sort out the heaviest coin in the stack, find the shortest distance, leadership board, the internal implementations of the heap, stack, map, any practical implementations of queue. I mean, they can ask you anything. So be prepared for these kind of questions on data structures. When we talk about FSD stacks specifically, so this is for the freshers and the experienced, data structures is very, very important. If you say, if you're experienced and if you say that you know the FSD stack, they may ask you questions on the front end. So if it's React, they may ask you on virtual DOM, they may ask you on higher order components, they may ask you on how the state management is done in React. If it's Angular, they may ask you on the various building blocks of Angular. If it's database, they may ask you on the ER diagram, normalization, efficiencies of the queries, and how a query should be created, what the best practices. You should be aware about the different types of web services. If you say you know DevOps, you should understand the features and functionalities DevOps bringing. Memory management, it's one of the most important question and a very favorite questions of the interviewers. Because resource management, memory management is very, very important and very crucial for the applications, because out of memory error or stack overflow error is one of the worst errors that you would want to get in any of your applications. Okay. And then definitely, if you say you have worked on projects, dummy or live, whether you're fresher or experienced, be prepared on the domain that you have worked on, technology stacks that's used in that project. If you haven't worked on all the technology stack, you can specify. So say, for example, if it's front end, back end, database, DevOps, you can say I was responsible for the front end part. So the questions will revolve around the front end. Believe me, they will not ask you back end or database. No. So be specific, do not be generalized. Generalized gives lots of opportunities for interviewer to ask varied questions. And one of the most important questions that they asked, did you face any challenges? Did you face challenges while working in a team? How was it? Did you had any fights? Did you had any struggles? Um, were you struggling with respect to working with the team, or were you struggling with respect to uh, uh, patience in the team, and there's so many questions that comes in. Okay, these are technical related questions that may be asked. Behavioral related questions are around the principles of the company. Um, any example that you can showcase that you have faced in the past, maybe any challenges, and how you overcome those challenges. Any difficult situation you were faced in, anything a manager or professor asked you to do it, but it was difficult for you. How did you respond, and how did you handle the situation? Any of your strengths and weaknesses, um, any decisions that you had to make, any sacrifices that you had to make to achieve the long-term gains, and so on and so forth. Yes, how flexible you are. Will you be able to adapt to changes in the organization? Will you adapt to change in locations? So all those questions will be asked in terms of behavioral, leadership skills, time management, how do you effectively manage your time. If you are inexperienced, if you are married, men or women, they may ask you how do you balance your personal and professional life. So be prepared for all such types of questions. Again, yes. See, when you give an interview, it's not only the interviewer who is gauging you or trying to understand whether you are fit for a role, but as an interviewee, you also get an option to understand the culture of the company through the behavior of the interviewer. You also can ask questions to the interviewer. You can also try to understand the role that they're hiring for and whether you are really interested in that or not. What is your growth in that company? What are the options available? So yes, it can be a two-way. It has to be a two-way communication. Expectations from the interviewer while solving a question is, it's not just they give you a question, you sit write coding. No. If they give you say 20 minutes to solve, initial 10 minutes should be given to understand the question, to ask more questions to the interviewer to uh, clarify if you have any doubts in the question that's asked. uh, you have to talk aloud your thought process, never just keep in your mind. So again, there are tick marks in the parameters that they will say that um, did the interview was the interview quiet for a minute? A minute is long, okay? But the interviewee was quiet for a minute. If yes, then that's a cross. So whenever a question is given, think about the mistakes that you can make, think about the corner cases, think about the solutions, think about the approach that you are taking towards solving that particular algorithm. And coding will take only 5-10 minutes if you know how to solve. And that's all with respect to the journey that you should take. And the links that I want to share you is I will just ping in all these in the chat window for your reference. So these are with respect to the various platforms available for preparing yourself for interviews, for um, um, resources, looking up for resources, any advices to automate your stuff. And these are the resources available for you to technically grow. So these are technical resources that's available.